Hey, this video isn't replacing this week's Xenoblade Chronicles 2 entry, but rather delaying it slightly between the two chapters. I wanted to talk about this topic for quite a while, and I felt like it was now or never if Nintendo's plans to render this video completely obsolete are to be believed. Anyways, let's do this. Take one look at this channel and you could probably tell what kind of gamer I am. Nintendo RPG fanboy. I've played games across the board in terms of 3DS, DS, Wii, a wide selection of GameCube and Switch games, and I always enjoy the chance to try out the older games on consoles prior to my generation. If you don't believe me, Majora's Mask is my favorite Nintendo 64 title, Metroid Fusion is my favorite Game Boy Advance game, excluding Pokemon Emerald, and the original NES and SNES systems have been on my mind for years, even though I don't own either system. As for my favorite games of all time, Super Smash Bros. Is up there alongside Fire Emblem and Xenoblade, but I hold them in slightly higher regards because of what they represent. With Super Smash Bros. Ultimate's Direct nearly a month behind us, I'm hoping that there will be at least a few more newcomers added to the roster before we get our hands on the full game. While the stage count may not change due to its solid number of 100, excluding Battlefield, Big Battlefield, and Final Destination, we really don't need any new stages to get more representation of the properties that are already represented in Super Smash Bros. While I'm sure you're thinking,
well, duh, they haven't announced Shadow, Ken, Akuma, or Isabelle as Echo Fighters.
Just know that I'm not talking about Echoes here. I am specifically talking about fully fleshed out fighters. As for what series could get new fighters on the roster, there aren't too many that come to mind. For the newcomers I see being in Smash that I can name off the top of my head, Skull Kid from Majora's Mask, Geno from Super Mario RPG, and maybe a new Pokemon all seem like pretty good bets for those who might get into the playable roster. As for who I think might make it in due to the current spot in the media and in Nintendo's current representation, I'm staking my bets on Elma from Xenoblade Chronicles X. I feel that if the Xenoblade Chronicles series was to get another representative in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Elma would be the most likely candidate to make it in. Here's why I think Elma would fit well as a new Xenoblade representative. First off, her importance. Elma was the main focus of character building in Xenoblade Chronicles X, although the strong second and third places go to Lin Ku and Tatsu. Elma was essentially the glue that held the whole crew together, aside from mutual survival among unknown indigenous life forms. However, when I say importance, I don't just mean her importance to her own game, but the importance and the relevance to the series as a whole. In general, her representation was pretty good, given that she was added recently into Xenoblade Chronicles 2 as the spokesperson for Chronicles X. Not only does this let the fans of X know that Monolith Soft cares about the game that Elma's from, and loves what fans think of her, but it also lets them know that they place her importance to the series as a whole on par with both Shulk and Fiora, who were the main reason the plot got kicked off in Xenoblade Chronicles. Elma was both a fan favorite in X and the main individual character in the center of her game's story, making her a lot more of a viable option for taking place in Ultimate or getting a port or a sequel for her game. Second, rumor has it, Elma's game came out in 2015, nearly 3 years ago to the date. And technically, if you live in Japan, it's been out for more than 3 years, but only by a couple months. Rumors starting as early as March of last year supposedly leaked the information that Xenoblade Chronicles X was getting either a port or a sequel. I don't believe the rumors are completely true due to the fact that I'm kinda paranoid if it doesn't come from the actual source, but if it does happen to be coming to the Switch, it's only a matter of time before they officially announce it on Nintendo's YouTube channel. I expect the announcement, if true, to come out near the same time as Elma's announcement trailer, should she make the roster in Ultimate. Because this would not only be the best way to advertise it, but it would be a great way to advertise the DLC for Chronicles 2. Not only would you be showing off more content for Smash Bros. Ultimate, but you'd be showing off another game for Xenoblade fans like myself, who enjoyed X for its combat, but was kind of sad that the sequel they teased hadn't been confirmed or touched on since the end credit scene from the story. In terms of timely relevance, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 has her added in as an expansion pass blade, making her one of the more unique combat options in the game. I go so far as to put her on the same level as Shulk in terms of combat prowess and unique abilities in 2, but that's for another video that you may or may not see later. If you want to know, it's going to be as a part of my Xenoblade Chronicles 2 playthrough. As for Elma's inclusion in Ultimate, she technically doesn't need X to be ported over or for a sequel to come out at around the same time due to her inclusion in Xenoblade Chronicles 2's expansion pass. Thirdly, the Smash ballot played a bit of a part in this. Xenoblade Chronicles X was out at a prime time to add a character like Elma to the Super Smash Bros. Ballot, while all characters from Xenoblade Chronicles 2 weren't out or even shown off before last year. Before you tell me,
Actually, Xenoblade Chronicles X didn't come out internationally until December of 2015, while the Smash ballot ended in October of that same year.
just remember that the reason Chrom made it into Ultimate was due to the Japanese fan base calling for him to be in the game. Chrom was a much bigger deal in Japan than he was in the West, but X came out in Japan just after the ballot was beginning in April of 2015, which gives her a slight chance to be in there. Japanese players of X had plenty of time to fall in love with Elma or enjoy the game before placing their choices into the ballot. For most of the newcomers, Sakurai is looking into the ballot to see which characters we want. Some of them may make it into the game one way or another. Maybe even Gino? Fourth, musical representation would be on point. We haven't seen the number of Xenoblade Chronicles music tracks, but we have seen some of the others. However, out of what we have for Xenoblade Chronicles, we're not really missing much from the first game. We've got You Will Know Our Names, Gower Plains, both the day and the night version, Engaging the Enemy, a remix medley which includes 4 of the songs that are already included, Mechanical Rhythm, Time to Fight, and An Obstacle in Our Way. Out of the more memorable tracks, there aren't many more that could fit into Super Smash Bros. Ultimate while not feeling out of place or spoiling the story at the same time. On the other hand, X has quite a few memorable tracks that would fit right into Smash without having to change them much, if any, at all, and none of them spoil the story. We're Flien, Uncontrollable, Black Tar, both the Skell and the Land versions, The Key We've Lost, and Oblivious Theme are just a few that work there. If we're talking about musical representation, adding Elma in would open the possibilities for quite a few epic battle themes being added to the Gower Plains stage. And finally, boss battles. Based on what we've seen in the footage from the prior direct, it seems like there will be a few bosses picked from different series that are represented in Smash Bros. Ultimate, or have their company's other series in Smash. We could be getting a fight against the Ganglion warship like Zufarg, have an enemy Skell like the ones the Ganglion pilot, or local indigenous life forms like Hayredin the Territorial, also known as the Territorial Rotbard if you've played Xenoblade Chronicles or Xenoblade Chronicles 2. And the list goes on from there. If we're talking about adding more bosses, having larger scaled ones like shown in Xenoblade Chronicles X, Monster Hunter, or even the stage bosses might be what that mysterious green mode on the main menu was all about. It could be limited to the 5 bosses we know about, Dracula, Yellow Devil, Rathalos, Metalface, and the Dark Lord from Find Me, but I'm willing to bet that they've collected a wider range of larger beasts, monsters, and bosses from across the franchises for this mode. I could make an entire video about how these would work and which ones would be included, but for keeping it shorter and somewhat generalized, I'll list off some that I feel might make worthy appearances or worthy bosses. For returning bosses, I'm hoping we see Rayquaza, Petey Piranha, or Porky return from Brawl's Subspace Emissary. As for the other bosses, any larger legendaries from Pokemon, similar to Dialga, Palkia, Giratina, Hades, or Medusa from Kid Icarus Uprising, the Bio-Lizard or Perfect Chaos from Sonic, Grima, Garen, Valadar, or Garnet from Fire Emblem, and I'm going to include the Black Knight here unless he becomes an Echo Fighter, or the Red Bulblorb from Pikmin. If I get enough content for any additional bosses, I'll try to make a video for that. As for Elma's inclusion, it seems like Elma would be pretty unique when compared to the other fighters on the roster. I'm not going to be going in depth as to how she would work, but I'm going to give her specials and her final smash just to give a little general idea of how Elma could work. If you want to go in depth yourself, there's an article I found on Source Gaming that goes over a possible moveset. They did a much better job than I did at putting this together. And while the article is from March in 2016, I realized that my choice of specials for Elma were included in the article for the most part. My choice of her down special was the third alternate. So I'll be linking the article in the description below for those who would like a more in-depth look. Also, I'm not the one who wrote the article, so I will be using my own words to describe what happens during each special. Considering Elma's weapons of choice are her dual swords and dual guns, we could base most of her attacks on a combination of the two. As for her neutral special, Electric Surge, one of her sword arts, would send a jolt of electricity running through her blade as she thrusts both of them into her opponent, stunning them upon landing the hit. This move can be charged like Corrin's neutral special to extend the length of the stun effect. For her side special, Sliding Slinger, which is her trademark art in X and her level 1 special in Xenoblade Chronicles 2. This would work like Bayonetta's side special on the ground, but instead of going diagonally up or down while in the air, it would be a completely horizontal move, making it harder to combo with. For her up special, Shadow Strike would launch her upward and then right back down, using her dual swords to bring her opponents with her in both directions, similar to Ike or Cloud's up special. For her down special, Ghost Factory would allow her to pass through projectiles or counter melee attacks, while moving her forward just a tiny bit. But think of her as using Corrin's counter, where she attacks both sides with her dual swords. As for one of her final smashes, having her hop into her Skell, a red-painted Varus model, and lock onto opponents like Snake's airstrike would work out pretty well. The Skell then fires off up to 8 missiles, depending on how many targets she's lined up, and then drops back onto the field where she jumped off. I said one of for a reason. I don't feel like having a Skell-based final smash is bad, but having her final smash be activated like Bayonetta's, using overdrive as the countdown clock, and then hopping to her Skell afterwards if she manages to hit enough blows and basically rack up enough TP, would be a more cinematic final smash that could fit in a lot better and represent more gameplay for both X and XC2. Granted, there is a lot of room for fine-tuning this moveset and cleaning up her tilts, aerials, smash attacks, but I just hit on some of the interesting points for fun. Do I think Elma would play like this in Smash Ultimate? Not really, but I did throw together some of her arts to figure out a portion of her moveset. And trust me, when I say that the article had all of the specials that I chose, I do mean they had all of them, and I was not trying to copy from there. Now I want to hear from you. What do you think about this possibility? Do you want Elma to be playable? What are her chances in your eyes? What moves would you choose for Elma? Leave your answers in the comments below, and if you liked this, let me know by commenting, leaving a like, suggesting a new topic, or even asking me to put together the boss video. If you enjoyed the voice you heard, you can check out my current playthrough of Xenoblade Chronicles 2, or my Fire Emblem Awakening walkthrough. Currently, we've wrapped up Chapter 5 in Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and we're gathering up the rest of the future children in Awakening, before moving on to Chapter 15. And I've been live streaming on twitch.tv with iPenguin and Data Dragon for the last few weeks, so you can check out the archives in the playlist on screen for my group playthrough of Conception 2 Children of the 7 Stars. Warning, it's rated M for mature. Until then, thank you for tuning in to Mindsight Games. My name is N-Sight, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.